Welcome to the Western Wall. In case you haven't watched any of my previous videos, my name is Gal and I'm a tour guide in Israel, and today we will visit one of the most unique, most spatial, most spiritual places in Israel and in Jerusalem, the Western Wall. So the Western Wall is the spiritual center of the Jewish world, and it's one of the supportive walls of the Temple Mount itself. So the Temple Mount was on top, and down below is the Western Wall. As you can see, today it became, in the last couple of centuries, it became sort of a praying platform. People come here to pray, to celebrate. It's Friday today, so a lot of people are probably here to celebrate something or just to pray for the weekend. And we will talk about the extent of the Western Wall itself, the whole Western Wall, the less known parts of the Western Wall, the Southern Wall, and the other supportive walls of the Temple Mount. And we will talk about why it's so important for the Jewish world. So stay tuned, let's go. When King Herod came to Jerusalem, there was already a temple on top of Mount Moriah. It was the second temple that was renovated by the Maccabees a couple of years back. However, this structure was too small for King Herod. He wanted to build a huge temple. He wanted to build something monumental. In order to build his monumental structure, he had to build 4 walls to surround Mount Moriah to support the building that will be on top of Mount Moriah, which was King Herod's temple. Now, the steps that were leading towards the main entrance, which was from the southern side of the Temple Mount. So the steps were one narrow and then one wide, and then one more narrow step and then another wide step. The reason why the Talmud says that it was built this way, because it makes it harder for people to run to the temple. Because when you go to the temple, you're not supposed to be running. You're supposed to be walking, climbing, wondering about who you are and what you're here for. The main entrance was from the southern side, which means it was from here. We are located right now in the corner of the Southern Wall and the Western Wall. And we can actually see the structure that was built by King Herod. Every time I see those rocks, I can tell that it was put by King Herod. I mean, not King Herod himself, probably one of his employees. But I can recognize King Herod's stones because they're very smooth. They were smoothened by his employees, and he always have this frame, as you can see, and they're huge stones. Those one only weight a couple of tons, maybe 15 or something like that, but he also have much heavier stones in this structure, and that's amazing. Till nowadays we don't know how he managed to put those heavy stones here and to build the Temple Mount itself. So this was the Western Wall, and this is the Southern Wall. We already been to the Southern Wall. We saw the main entrance, and over here there was a small street that was going on top of the shops. Maybe this was the place where Jesus came in the last week to his life, and we know that he came to the market and he turned the tables upside down. So this could have been the place where he did those actions of the last week to his life. I want to show you one more thing. Actually, I want to show you a couple more things. This is a rock that fell from the top. It's the edge and it's also the corner, as you can see. And there is a very small platform here. And there is actually a writing on the stone that was found here. And it was amazing because this stone fell here when the temple was destroyed about 2,000 years ago. But the inscription is in Hebrew. When we find inscriptions in Hebrew from First Temple period, from 3,000 years ago, we cannot read them. I mean, you can read them, but you have to learn the letters. But in Second Temple period, which means 2,000 years ago, they used the same letters that we use nowadays for Hebrew, which means that every 6-year-old kid here in Israel that has a good teacher can read this inscription. It's in Hebrew. It's the same modern Hebrew that we use nowadays, and it says Lebeit Hatki'ah, which means to the house of the place where they used to blow the shofar. And then leha. And we don't know how it ends. Maybe it's to announce or maybe it's to declare. So we know that there was a man standing with a shofar, which is a type of a trumpet, but made of a horn of an animal. And he was announcing on Shabbat, for example, that Shabbat is about to start, so close all the shops, come back from the field. This was happening on Friday, for example. So he might have been standing here, as you can see in this reconstruction, with his trumpet, with his shofar, to announce or to separate the holy days from the non-holy days. And if you will follow me here, you can see that up here there used to be a bridge, and this bridge, on top of the bridge there was an entrance to the Temple Mount itself. The bridge was destroyed as the rest of the street, and down under the arch, under this bridge, there used to be shops over here as well. The rocks that we can see here are remains of the destruction of the Temple Mount from 2,000 years ago. When King Herod builds the Western Wall, it's not just the Western Wall, he actually builds 4 walls, and those are the supportive walls of the platform. And on top of the platform there was a temple. We already talked about it, and we already saw the southern wall of the Temple Mount. What you can see behind me is the western wall of the Temple Mount that has remained for thousands of years the spiritual center of the Jewish world. The Talmud says that if you are not in the land of Israel and you are praying, so you need to face towards the land of Israel. But if you're already in the land of Israel, so you face Jerusalem. If you're already in Jerusalem, so you face the Holy of Holiest, which means the Temple Mount. And if you are already in the area of the Temple Mount, so you only aim with your heart, which might explain why this place has remained for thousands of years such an important and spiritual place for all the Jews around the world. You can see that when you go inside, when you go closer to the Western Wall. You can see people when they go out, when they leave the Western Wall, they're not turning their backs to the Western Wall. They go when they're still facing it, and only when they are a bit further from it, so they turn their backs, because they want to show their respect to this place. And you can see that people, before they enter, they wash their hands. This is their way to purify themselves. I will just finish by saying that if you look closely at the wall behind me, you will see that it's built from layers. The bottom layer is the original layer that was built during the times of King Herod. But the structure has gone through a lot during the years, and it has been renovated many times in the past. There were different structures that were built on top of Temple Mount, and when you look very closely, you can see that the stamp of time is shown. You can actually see the history just by looking at this wall.